What is new in Android 13? And here is a detailed side-by-side comparison with Android 12. Hey peeps, what's up? Munchie here, back with another video, and in this video I will show you what is new in Android 13, and we are going to do a detailed side-by-side comparison with Android 12.1 or Android 12. So Android 12 is on the left, Android 13 is on the right. This on the left is the Google Pixel 6a, and on the right is the Google Pixel 5, which right now is running the latest build of Android 13, or the first public production build of Android 13. First thing we are going to talk about is the Easter egg. So if you tap on the Android version a few times in Android 12, the Easter egg gets activated at 12 o'clock, and in Android 13 it gets activated at 1 o'clock. Now if you press and hold on the 13, you will get new emojis, new images. That is not the case with Android 12. Next up, with respect to material use. So if you go into the wallpapers and style option, you will notice that for the same wallpaper, you have multiple color options available in material use with respect to Android 13. On Android 12, I have only 4 options. Herein, I have 16 options. And then the same applies for the basic colors as well. On Android 12, I have 4 options, and herein I have 16 options. Themed icons, unfortunately, still in beta, has been like that for almost a year now. So Google is still shipping beta products on production devices. Next thing we can talk about is the quick settings panel. So notice something, I have battery percentage enabled on both of these devices. Now when I access my quick settings panel on Android 13, you will notice that I am getting until time. So that is how long my battery is going to last. However, on Android 12, I still have the battery percentage, which has since disappeared over here. Then if I scroll down a bit more, you will notice that the buttons for editing your quick setting tiles power settings have all been moved a little bit. So your profiles settings are at the bottom right, edit is on the bottom right of your quick setting tiles where they end. Now this I think is good for one-handed users, but for left-handed users this is going to be a problem. Other than that, with Android 13 you also get some new quick setting tiles like scanning the QR code, so you can scan any QR code which you want to. And if I go into the edit option, you will notice you have more tiles over here which have been added with Android 13. Those are your one-handed mode and color correction. Now an important thing to note over here is that when I go back from the edit option, it takes me back to my quick setting tiles in Android 13. In Android 12, it takes me back to my home screen. Also, the animation slides in from the right in Android 13 and from the left in Android 12. So those are some more changes with respect to your quick setting tiles. Also, the screen recorder tile now gives you the option of recording your keystrokes. So here it is, show touches on screen option has been added with Android 13. And last but not the least, if I press and hold on the Android version, once I have enabled it using the developer options, here it is, you can see I am getting the option to copy this Android version. When I press and hold, I do not get that specific option in Android 12. Now, while we were talking about the clipboard option, you can now copy and it will give you the overlay. So let us say I go ahead, open the browser here, and I say copy. So this here is my clipboard. I can directly share this content which I have copied, or I can also edit it. So I select copy one more time, I select second, and now I can edit it. And once I'm done editing, I can select done and then share whatever text I have added. Now this copy feature works with everything. So here it is, copy one more time, and I can use it with the images as well. And with Android 13, your clipboard will be cleared after 1 hour. Next up, with respect to your home screen, you will notice that the gesture bar in Android 13 is thicker and it is wider. Then the Google Lens icon has also changed a little bit. And another strange change which I have noticed is that right now I have light mode activated on both of these devices. However, when I access the Google Assistant, it is always in dark mode in Android 13, and on Android 12 it follows the system wide theme. So that is also something which is pretty strange. And if you go into home settings on both of these devices, and then if you go into search your phone, herein you will notice that with Android 13 you have a toggle to always show the keyboard, which is absent from this specific menu in Android 12. However, if you go into the app drawer preferences, you have the same page and that toggle is still absent, but in Android 12 you can activate that from here, always show the keyboard. And before I forget, they have also changed the verbiage a little bit. So herein, with respect to people, you see it says contacts, conversations, and more. And on Android 13, they have added from your before that to make it more comprehensible. Next change we can talk about is in the recents. So if I go to the recents, press and hold on any app icon, go into the split top option. You will notice that herein the option or the application which you selected on split top is like rounded. Herein it is a square thing. So that is another minute change which you will notice with Android 13. Next up, let us talk about the pin entry screen. So as you can see, emergency call has been replaced with emergency. Then the other thing you will notice is that between the emergency button and your gesture bar, the spacing has been increased. Next up, when you type your pin code, you will notice it is right above your 123 over here, and herein you have a big gap. Then when you enter the wrong pin, there is a new animation in Android 13. You will notice that each of the keypad entry things over here, the digits, they give a little wiggle, which is not present in Android 12. And when you enter the correct pin, you will notice that the animation of unlocking has also changed a little bit. Herein you will notice it slides up, and in Android 13 you will notice the icons appear from the background. There it is. That is the cool looking animation which they have added with Android 13 now. Another new option which they have added with Android 13 with respect to your lock screen is if you go into settings, and then if you go into lock screen settings in your display, you now have a toggle to control your smart devices from the locked device. If you have enabled this toggle, so you can control your smart devices from your lock screen. Next thing we can talk about is the media player. Now you will notice on the lock screen in Android 13, the media player is super big. This whole black background is supposed to be your album art, which is pretty small in Android 12. The buttons have also moved around a little bit. So the pause button is here on the right hand side, and phone speaker is replaced by this phone. Also, if you tap on the app icon on the top left in Android 13, you can then go to the application, and in Android 12 it is pretty small. Let us also have a look at your media player in your quick settings panel. The other change you will notice is that over here the progress bar has a worm kind of thing for whatever part of the music has been played, and the button here is material U as well, whereas in Android 12 the whole media player is material U. And I think the media player in Android 13 switches its colors with the album art and not with your Material You theme. Other than that, if you press and hold on the media player and then you can go into the settings page, you will notice that the settings option has been replaced with a gear icon on the top right. Cancel is still there, and dismiss has been removed. So those are your changes with respect to the media player. Now another change you will notice is that if you expand your quick settings panel, you get this message on the bottom left that one app is active. So this is telling me that some application is running in the background and it is active even when I'm not using it. So this in my case is YouTube Music, but it is good if you have any application running in the background and you do not want it running, then you can get that notification over here when you expand your quick settings panel in Android 13. And last but not the least, if you tap on this output icon, media output icon, you will notice that the volume bar here in Android 13 is thicker, whereas in Android 12 it's just a small line. And this is what I was talking about. You can see that the word done here has a blue background, whereas my material you theme prominent color selected is green. So this is the best example which shows you that your media player color changes with your cover art. Next up, let us jump over to settings and see what all changes have happened over here. The first change you will notice is that the search bar is now stickied when you scroll it. Then if you go into any option and then you go back, the back gesture animation has changed. So herein, as you can see, it is fading towards the middle of the screen, and herein it is sliding across. Let us give it one more try. Here it is, slide and fade towards the middle of the screen. Now in the submenus, the first change you will notice is if you go into connected devices and see all. Android 13 says saved devices, Android 12 says previously connected. Then let us go into the apps. Herein let us select the YouTube Music application and we can go into the permissions option. Now you will notice that you have a few new options over here. So YouTube Music by default has access to only music and audio. In Android 12, it is files and media, which includes your pictures and other files as well. And you have another option called notifications, which means that any app you open is going to ask you whether it can send you notifications or not. And then the option of remove permissions and free up space has been renamed to pause activity if unused. And they also give you a brief explanation of what this option does. Let us go into some other application and check out the other permissions which have been added. So let us go into the messages option and here and go into permissions. You will notice you have files and media in Android 12. Android 13 has music and audio, and then you have a separate option for photos and videos and another option for notifications. Let me go ahead and clear the data for the Amazon application, and then when I open it for the first time, you will notice that it is asking me whether it can send me notifications or not. So let us open the Amazon app for the first time. Here it is. Allow Amazon Shopping to send you notifications, and of course you can set allow or don't allow. Next up, let us go into settings and then we can go into the notification option and we can go into do not disturb. Here, and if you go into the people option, you will notice something called conversations in Android 12, which is missing in Android 13. You only have calls and messages. Let us first go into calls. So there is nothing new in the calls option. Let us now go into the messages. So as you can see in Android 12 you have radio buttons, which means you can select only one. Now in Android 13 you have a checkbox, which means you can now select multiple of those options in case you want to. Then if you go into the schedules for do not disturb, you now have toggles instead of checkboxes, and the gaming option has disappeared because game dashboard is not present in Android 13 right now. However, reports have suggested that Google is going to push out an update to the Google Play System library wherein they have integrated the game dashboard. Next up, let us head over to the battery section. Now herein, if you go into your battery saver and then you go into set a schedule based on percentage, you will notice that by default, the percentage in Android 13 is 10% and in Android 12 it is 5%. Then if you go into extreme battery saver, go into essential apps, you will notice system apps by default are checked and grayed out and grouped on top, and then your applications which you have installed are at the bottom and you can filter them based on frequently used, battery percentage, or based on the name. Next up, let us head into sound and vibration. Now herein, if you go into your option of vibration and haptics, you will notice some changes. So for starters, you can of course control your ring vibration, and this option of vibrate for calls might be absent, but you have a new option called vibrate first, then ring gradually. Now, if you scroll down in Android 13, you also have the option of interactive haptics, wherein you can control the vibration strength for touch feedback and for your media vibration as well. Then they have also added another new option in sound and vibration, and this one is called shortcut to prevent ringing. Now, when you tap on this, it tells you when you press power and volume up together, what do you want to do? Do you want to put the phone to vibrate or to mute? So bam, here it is. I just pressed that option and I got a toast notification that calls and notifications will vibrate, and on top over here in my status bar I do have vibrate icon. Now if you scroll down, you will also notice that they have added the toggle to always show icon in vibrate mode, which is missing in Android 12, and I think that is a pretty nice addition. However, if you have to switch from vibrate to the other ringer mode, you still have to use your volume panel. Then we can head over to the display settings, and we've already covered that if you go into the lock screen option, you can control your smart devices from your lock screen if you have enabled this toggle of control from locked device. Other than that, you will notice that font size and display size have now been combined into one option of display size and text, and herein you can change the font size, the display size, and if you want to reset back to the default, you have a button for that as well. This one over here, reset settings, on the bottom left, and you have two new toggles of bold text and high contrast text in case you want to use any of those options. Then the screensaver page has also gotten a UI overhaul. So here it is, Android 13 on the right, Android 12 on the left. You have a master toggle to enable or disable your screensaver, and the option of never has been removed, and you can choose your screensaver, clock, colors, photos, when to start. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the option of never has been removed because you now have a master toggle on the top to enable or disable it, and you can of course preview your screensaver from this very screen itself. Next up, if you go into the accessibility settings, and then we can go into the option of magnification. Herein you will notice that with Android 13 you have a new toggle called Magnify Typing. Now how does this Magnify Typing work? So let us say I open the Chrome browser, go into the address bar, and I am typing something. I enable this accessibility feature, and then we can move this over here, double tap, and now if I type, it should follow it. There it is. You can see as I keep on typing, the magnification effect is following what I type. So that is what this new toggle is supposed to do. Next up, if we go into the security option, you will notice that fingerprint unlock has been renamed to pixel imprint. And if you go into privacy, and then we can head over to the privacy dashboard here, and if you select see other permissions, the new permissions which we were talking about with respect to your applications, music and audio, then you should also have photos and videos and notifications. Those have all been added to your privacy dashboard, and if you go into the permission manager, you will again see those new options. So notifications is here, photos and video is here, and you should also have something related to music and audio, whereas in Android 12 you only have files and media, and of course the notification option is also missing. Next up, if you go into your system settings, and then if you go into languages and input, you can now control per app language for supported devices. So if we go into the option of app languages, Chrome, you can either use system default or you can choose from any of these languages which are listed here. Of course, the application needs to support this feature. If you go into gestures, and then if you go into quick tap start actions, you will notice that you can now toggle the flashlight with a quick tap. So this new option has been added with Android 13. And if you go into system navigation and go into the option of configuring your 3-button navigation, you do not have the gear icon in Android 12. In Android 13 you have the settings gear icon. If you tap on this, you have a toggle to enable or disable the hold home for assistant. Then if you go into the option of adding a new user, so let us go into multiple users, and as you can see, besides add user on the left, you have an icon here, and you have the plus sign. When you select that and select OK, now you have a bigger profile picture, in Android 12 you can take a photo or choose an image, but in Android 13 when you tap on this you can either take a picture, choose an image, or use any of these predefined icons. Now another privacy feature which they have added with Android 13 is, let us say I select the option of selecting a picture. You notice this app can only access the photos you select. So whatever picture I select over here is the only picture it can access. It cannot access all of my pictures and videos. So that is another little granular control which they have added with Android 13. And last but not the least, if you go into your developer options, you will notice that a few new toggles have been added, a few of them have been removed. So something like tear has been added, then you have something called allow mock modem, the network download rate can be limited, an option of enable Gable Dosh has gone. You have a new toggle called disable Bluetooth LE audio. So yes, there are some new options which have been added to developer options, and some of the options have of course been removed. And there it is, peeps. That was our Android 13 what is new, all the major features with the side-by-side comparison with Android 12 or 12.1, which is what we were running on the Google Pixel 6a. And that will do it for this video. Hope my video helped you. Likes, shares, and subscribes are appreciated. Feedback and comment more than welcome. See you when I see you.